think they're not on audio yet.
Oh.
Hi.
Hello.
What's up, everyone?
Dina or Deanna? I forget.
It's Dina.
Dina. Okay, that's how it's spelled. I just wanted to be sure.
So here we do. We're going to rename you.
Why?
Then okay, I won't. But now I've wiped it out.
It's still there.
Oh well, then never mind. I'll cancel.
Crazy. Oh, we haven't. Patty.
Hi. How are you doing?
Okay, there's Patricia. Where'd Patty go? We lost Patty.
Oh, I'm Patty also.
No, it was a different lady. It wasn't you. It was a different lady.
Oh, there's more than one Patty, huh? Okay.
There's a Patty, and she's muted.
Is she still on there?
I can see a Patty Losaw. I don't know.
Yeah, there she is. Okay. Oh, I can only see 4 people at a time. Linda, can you
go to gallery view. There's a button up at the top right that says speaker view. Oops. You can change that speaker view to gallery view, and it'll make you go to full screen.
There we go.
Okay.
So you should be able to see everybody that's in.
Okay. The lighting in this room is terrible.
Yeah, you're kind of in the dark, Walker.
This is no good. I don't know. It's always like this. Here, maybe that's better.
Here, I'll buy you a light.
All my stuff behind me is gone. I'm packing, so.
Are you moving?
Oh.
Not yet. I'm just getting a jump on it. But yes, we are. We're gonna move into a tiny house. That means I have to get rid of everything I own.
Oh my
Like
God.
not just a smaller house, but one of the tiny houses?
It's 400 square feet, so I guess it's bigger than a tiny house, but it's still pretty darn tiny.
That's tiny. That's cool.
Huh?
I don't. How do you manage a tiny house?
Well, we bought the shell for it, and my husband's gonna finish out the inside, and I'm gonna have a regular bedroom, just a small bathroom, but a regular one, a small kitchen, but it'll still be regular. Everything's normal. It's just one bedroom. The bedroom's a normal size. I don't know. We'll find out when it's done.
Well, will you have a lot of outdoor space to enjoy?
We live on a ranch, so we've got plenty of outdoor space. We're
Right.
going to build a big porch. Yeah, we live out in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, so how have you ladies been?
Miss you guys.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
I'm on an Outlander.
Linda, you just muted yourself.
Yeah,
bye-bye.
To one of the kids.
Oh, okay.
It's like a double Droughtlander, hasn't it been? Yeah.
Yeah. I like to have a Zoom meeting after, you know how the book's separated into parts, not just chapters. So I try to do it after each part instead of after each chapter. And this is just a big part. And this chapter we're on right now is 72 pages or something like that. And I know y'all read fast, but it takes me a while to come up with questions. So I got to give myself enough time to do it. And I'm probably halfway through the chapter right now. Okay, so, all right, question number 1. What is your favorite part of the book so far? Please try not to go ahead. So what was the last thing we remembered in chapter 2030? Anybody remember? I bet you're all ahead, aren't you?
I'm like 6 chapters behind.
Okay. You should answer.
We are.
I'm in the wedding chapter. We've been camping. We've been all over the place, and so I've been busy doing other things. So shame on me.
I just got caught up yesterday because I had 2 weeks from hell. So
Oh no.
just life. It's my car was in the shop 3 full days, 3 different times, and carpenter building stuff, working on some repairs here. It just
Yeah.
So I'm just getting caught up.
Okay, so we left off with they get back to the castle, right? And she's mad at him or jealous because he had to go talk to Leary, log hair, whatever y'all call her, Leary.
Leg hair.
Leg hair.
Leg hair.
Leg hair. And,
It is really.
Well,
I
but
still
she
think-
thought he did. She thought he went to talk to her.
yeah. And he did, right? We just he wasn't. That wasn't where he was the whole time, but he did talk. To her.
You met her on the stair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there was-
because she was there. Yeah.
Yeah. You were making funny ones.
Hilarious.
So Claire's all jealous and can't sleep, kind of like me right now. I can't sleep at all, but she can't sleep because she's all jealous. So apparently, she's her feelings have changed a little bit since the beginning of the book. So I think that's where we've left off, right?
Yeah. I think my favorite part. The stone circle. And that,
We not there yet.
pardon?
We gotten to that part yet. The stone circle?
Yeah, that's the end of, that's the end. Yeah.
This is chapter 23 when they get back to the castle.
This is the
Yeah,
bed bug. This is the bed bug. This is the bed bug scene.
Oh, bed bugs. Oh. Okay, being one who is not fond of bugs in any way, shape, or form, that one just like my skin crawls. No pun intended. That was no. I would be out the door. No.
Well, don't they travel in groups, not single like that? That's what I was confused about when I read that part of the book. I thought
They
they all
build
came
eggs.
out together.
They lay eggs wherever they are, and they just multiply.
That does not sound like fun.
No.
Okay.
If you think about it, the smells that they used to be used to all the time, we've got softened. Everything we've got in our life, we make sure there are no smells, but they haven't got any facilities to do that.
That's true.
True.
Wasn't it? I mean, they didn't wash for weeks, and so they could only wash in the river when it was warm enough. So they must have really, well, they must have had frozen nostrils, or that's what I can think. Because we couldn't tolerate it now, could we? If someone was a bit hard.
No, we tell them to go back.
You've been camping before? Because you kind of forget how you smell after a while. Right, Linda?
There's camp clean and there's regular clean.
Yeah.
And you get used to camp clean.
Well, I don't
Well,
know.
and if everybody's at the same level of stink, then no one person stands out.
No, that's right.
That's very true.
They were all used to it, weren't they?
And I Jamie, he comments once in a while that he likes her to smell bad. Like to him, it's a good smell.
Oh, yeah.
I've never
Well,
remembered
she
that.
actually likes it too, it seems like. I mean, she comments pretty frequently about the musky man smell.
Yeah, that's
But remember,
right.
they're always wearing layers and layers of clothing. And, you know, I mean, we used to camp a lot. And I remember, you know, if you wear several layers, it's just the outside layer that gets really dirty. Then when you come inside, you just take off the outside layer and you're clean again, sort of.
Plus it's cold there, so like in
It's smell,
Texas,
too.
we'd be in trouble because we sweat all the time. It's just hot here, and but
Mm.
there it's cold,
Here, too.
so it takes longer, I guess, to get dirty.
Mm.
But she seems to comment so much on smells, doesn't she? Far more than what you think we are susceptible to smell. She comments on things.
That's true. She gives us a lot of sensory imagery. That's why I always ask about the image question. Because some of it is just so detailed. It just pops out at you.
Yep.
Okay, so favorite parts.
My favorite part was the rescue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he jumps in that window. Oh my gosh, that was so exciting! And then they escaped. I get chills just thinking about that part.
Yeah.
And I will always picture Sam in my mind.
I know.
You know, 'cause that is just so hard to let go of. That image is so beautiful.
I'll ask you to take your hands off of your wife.
Yes, exactly.
So polite about it. Please take your hands off my wife.
And then he did that without a loaded gun.
Yes.
That's true love.
That's ballsy.
Or craziness.
Well, yeah, that too.
Yeah,
Well, that part, and then the argument that they had afterwards down by the river.
Yes.
To me, because this is where the relationship really starts to get tested, you know, because the differences between the two of them are starting to come out, and the kinds of things that she can't reveal about her motivations, you know, and of course he's just going crazy, like he can't figure out why she acts the way that she does. To me, I always go back to that scene because it was just so intense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think
Is that the you're ripping my guts out, Claire? Is that the one you're?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I like
broke my heart when
rereading
you said that.
the conversation that they have after the spanking on the road going back, where he talks about his father and all of, you know, kind of in a way trying to explain himself, and just really to me that's where the real relationship kind of starts, because he starts sharing some of his vulnerability, and then that just leads into that whole conversation when they get to the castle and she's tired and her brain starts going crazy, and then he comes back to give her this beautiful romantic ring and she's like, "Wah!" And then they figure all that out. To me, that part is where they kind of took that arranged marriage and turned it into okay, now we're both legitimately choosing this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, she still has that whole Get Back to the Future thing in the back of her head, but as far as for my here and now and here, as in Scotland in the 1700s, yeah, I think we're picking each other for real this time. And I also kind of like when I reread it in the books, because it's not in the show, so it's like fresh. It's always fresh when you reread it, because it's not something you have the show dialogue and the visual for.
Shush. Yeah. Got the dogs talking across the Atlantic now.
Sorry, mine started it.
Barking at her dog.
I'm curious what you all thought about. There was an interesting discussion online about the piece where Jamie was back to Leah earlier. With Jamie, did Jamie try to make Claire jealous or not? I found two very different approaches in the book versus the TV show, and how people were answering that. When she caught him smooching with Leary.
Mm-hmm. Well, I always thought how rude.
But they weren't
just
together
look
then.
at her and then get back after her. So maybe
he was frustrated, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, he was burning. Obviously, you know, he knew, and he was burning for Claire, I guess, and he knew that, but Claire didn't. And I think at that point, she was much more hands off with him, I think.
I love the line from the previous chapter about that. I said it was a virgin. I didn't say it was a monk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
But I got the impression in the book that, you know, he was in an entirely different section of the he was in an upstairs room, and Claire's surgery was way off in a remote corner. Mm-hmm. So she decided to go investigating, and happened on him. He was sort of hidden behind a curtain in an alcove, and when he looked up, he was panic stricken at first, because he didn't know who was there, and seeing them, and he could have been in big trouble, I guess. And then when he saw it was Claire, he kind of went, yeah, and went back to his business.
Right.
So that was what I always thought of.
Okay, so he's Leary's, you know, love the one you're with.
I think that the idea that he's doing it to make Claire jealous, I mean, I think it's a possibility, but I think it's more of a possibility that a woman would do something like that. I don't find that most men are that cunning in the sense that, you know, trying to trick her into a relationship or something. I don't know. I get the feeling even, you know, from Jamie too, that he's more on the surface than that. You know, if he's kissing Larry, it's because he wanted to kiss Larry.
And she's probably been teasing him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then does he, to Walker's question, I guess was leading, that's kind of where I was leading up to. Does he owe Leary an explanation?
Yes. Back then, yes. I think so. Because back then you didn't kiss the girl till you got married, and he's all over her. So, and then plus, you know, he took her place.
That beating, yeah.
So, you know,
I was surprised I was surprised he was not aware that taking the beating for her would have great significance to her. To me, that should have been obvious.
Isn't that incredibly naive, though?
Very.
It's a bit of a bravado. It's a bit of a bravado.
Men are just stupid.
I'm an old babe, and I would be kind of thinking, oh, this guy's pretty
He must like me.
Right.
If he took a beating for me, and then he, you know, we were playing tonsil hockey. I don't know if I were.
Then he must like me.
And a 16-year-old girl who lives less than I do, I'd be.
Yeah, I think he definitely owed her an explanation. I mean, and he's a nice person. I'm sure he had no problem giving her one, but I just kind of imagine him saying, "Sorry, lass, but I'm married, and that's all there is to it." And you know, I hate that I hurt you, but that's it. So
yeah, that's kind of where I was too. I was just curious as to what you all thought, because there were some odd, there's some strange, different answers from where my head was.
Cool. Which is why book club is fun, because we get to see what other people get out of it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, let's see. What does Claire see when she looks at Black Jack Randall?
Frank.
After that incident, though, I don't think she thought of him as much in that way.
Yeah, after that incident, it was more when she tried to think of Frank.
I think that was the end of her and Frank at that point, because she was all she ever saw thereafter. I think that was, well, I better not say because it's further on in the book, but I think that doomed the marriage, whether it, you know, she'd gone back and loved him or not. Every time she looked at him, all she saw was Randall.
Yeah.
Because even if not consciously, that's in your subconscious.
That's
so
right.
It might not have been like, but I mean, just,
I think she just saw the sadistic leer of him, you know.
And I mean, Frank wasn't particularly, well, I wouldn't find him attractive.
Well, and he certainly didn't get the connection as she, that you trade souls.
Right.
That's right.
Well, and when they're on their second honeymoon and he wants to do his historical research, wouldn't you
very romantic, isn't it?
Yeah. And then poor Claire's like rattling around trying to find something to do while he amuses himself.
And I think in the book, it's even more pronounced than on the show. In the show, it looks more like they're on the honeymoon, and this research with Reverend Wakefield is kind of an aside. In the book, when you read those chapters, it very much seems flip-flop to me. That it was like, hey, I want to go do this. Why don't you come too? And we'll like have a honeymoon at the same time. So I think you're right. I just think it's even more pronounced. His kind of, like, he's not cruel and he's not mean.
No.
He's not really standoffish or any of those things. He's just not very,
I think he's
Teddy Berry. I mean,
well, in book Frank is, in the beginning especially, much more appealing than the show Frank. I mean, he's got much more of a sense of humor. He's just got more character, I think.
Well, Claire,
I will second that.
definitely, and I think that's what gets her in trouble with Blackjack is that she's when she sees Blackjack Randall at first, she feels that comfort that she feels with Frank, which is a big mistake.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I think that Frank was on his way to his new job at what was it, Oxford or wherever, and here he's making this transition from the war to this new professorship, and I'm married to a professor, so I didn't find his behavior unusual. He's making this transition, and he's got an opportunity to do some research. So, he's gonna, do that. And I don't think it took anything away from his feelings for Claire. But that's just my opinion.
He and Jamie are so different, though, don't you think? I mean, Jamie's a man of physical action. Part of that's the time, but Frank is so much more in his head, right? Intellectual
And what's the age difference between them?
Pardon?
Their age difference. So Jamie,
isn't it? It's over 10 years, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. And she was
James well educated too, so
she was young when she married.
Yeah, how much older is she?
Like 4 years. She's like 4 years older or something like that.
But
I thought it was like 7.
She was 9 when she and Frank married.
She married before the war, so she was about 18 when she married.
Yeah, I was going to say 19.
He was 12 years older.
So he's 12 years older than her. She's 4 years older than Jamie. That's you're talking about 2 decades worth of maturity levels. So yeah, they're going to be different. Just even Jamie, when he gets to that age, is a little more settled. If you think about it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine going to war? When she did, you would develop to so more mature, dealing with what you had to deal with.
Yep.
I always felt like that if she had not fallen through the stones, she and Frank would have been fine.
Oh, I don't think so.
No, I think they would do.
Cheated on her.
Well, they might have been fine for a few years, but not more than maybe 5 or 6.
She would have been bored. She was just bored with him because he's just a boring guy. She doesn't.
Well, you have to think about
Well, and he really wasn't focused on her.
No, he was
But even within the times that he was in, I mean, he was supportive of her going to medical school, and he even did, worked it out with Bree so that, he took care of the after-school child care and stuff. So, I don't know.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
It's like if she didn't have the comparison of the relationship with Jamie, maybe Frank wouldn't have suffered so much.
They allow each other to follow their own interests, and that might be a good thing in a marriage, because if you're always just, following along the other person's interests, or only one person is allowed to have the focus of the relationship. I mean, you have to be into developing yourself to have something to bring back into the relationship. And I think that Frank, even though he was sort of obsessive about following his interests, he also allowed Claire and supported her interests too. So,
which was not highly usual at that.
Not in the 40s and 50s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for her to be going to medical school was not common.
Yeah, very rare.
We're not there yet.
But even being a nurse in the Army, that was pretty gutsy for a woman.
It was, yeah.
I mean, I know in the States it was more, the women were supporting the war effort more by working in the factories. They weren't out on the battlefield.
There's one quote, and I wish I could remember exactly where it was, and I'll post it in the group. But I remember that the second time that I read the book, it was very striking because it's the first time that she truly compares Jamie with Frank and finds Frank a little more. she somehow she talked about the connection that she had with Jamie, and she said something about Frank, and I never had that. And I have to find that quote because it's the first time that I really see her acknowledge that Jamie brings something to the relationship with Frank does.
Is that where after they made love? Is that the one? I think where it's about the souls.
I think so.
About I lose my soul.
Yeah, it's the soul.
That's after the kind of rough
Never
love.
figured that out. Yeah.
Okay, and it's the first time I really hear her not just trying to be negative, but just like there's a comparison. It's always been Frank, and oh yeah, here's this Jamie guy, you know, I can use him in her opinion if he's done, but now she's parent, which she hasn't done before.
So why is she still trying to go back to Frank? She says that.
Smell. It's the smells.
It's what she knows. It's comfort. I mean, she wants a hot bath, you know.
Well, it was all those years versus 6 weeks or 8 weeks of people she knew, things she knew, everything that was familiar, and it's what she was supposed to do. You know,
She's basically just on the road. That's just her plan, and it's still her plan, even though her feelings are all changing. And she says it somewhere. Maybe it's in chapter 24. I don't know. You know, loyalty was like the big reason.
It was loyalty to Frank. Yeah.
Okay.
But this too about each event. It seems like everything is so dangerous. And I know she talks about how the dangers are even worse in the modern times, but reality, if you look at her experiences after going through the stone, it's one dangerous event after another, and to the point where sometimes I kind of feel like, are you serious? There's now something else dangerous is going to happen? In fact, sometimes I feel like, remember the old cartoons? The old cartoons where the woman was tied to the railroad track and here's a train coming and the hero's going to come and rescue. I feel like that scene over and over and over again. I mean, so, I mean, I think if there was that much danger just happening over and over, I might want to leave too.
Yeah. So what do you think she likes better, being on the road with all these Scottish hooligans or being at the castle? Which one do you think?
On the road.
I think she prefers to being on the road.
Yeah. She's got the chance of freedom.
Yeah, she thinks
well, she's kind of used to that, isn't she?
I can't remember saying. She thinks Jamie's controlled her the castle, whereas when she's got him on the road, she thinks there's a bit of leeway. But I think she feels he's so in a straight line in the castle because it's tradition, isn't it? The way things are done. Out on the road, they've got a bit more leeway.
Yet we find in chapter 23. Okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate just a bit. She's got the surgery, and she's finally able in the castle now to start helping people and living, and her two lives are starting to come together because she's able to use all of her healing training to.
But it's still pretty clear that Colin doesn't trust her.
True. So there's all that intrigue. We've got that political intrigue going on.
Yeah. Colin's interested in this chapter.
There are just pluses to being at the castle like this. So.
She's at the castle. It seems like they have to do what Colin tells them to do versus on the road. You know, they're like normal people. They're each other's family. They do what they need to do, and they come back to the castle, and Colin's like, you're going to do this, and you're going to do that, and doesn't he make Amy go somewhere, leave her? I don't remember when that happened, but I thought, well, it stinks because they just lose independence when they're at the castle, I think.
They do.
I mean, even though she has a chamber pot there, I think I'd rather be somewhere else. Leary's there. You know, just a little, I guess real life intervenes, sort of. Okay, so let's compare Claire, TV Claire with book Claire. Because to me, I see huge differences.
Huge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I like book Claire much better.
We have about 5 minutes left in the meeting today, so
Okay.
just to let everybody know.
I think the sense of humor is much more pronounced in book Claire. And when and also even after that spanking scene, you know, she forgave him much more quickly. Where she in the movie she kind of brooded, and it was, I don't know, she's more, she actually listens to him better in the book, I think. You know, and as she gets to know him, she's very she's much more willing to understand his explanation.
Well, because she's learned that he's not just some young, foolish boy, you know, that he's well educated, he's well thought out, he's not manipulative, but he thinks about what he does before he does it. And so she can respect that.
Don't you think that she's harder in the book?
She's what?
Don't you think that they made her harder in the book? I mean, she's not as stern in the TV version as she is in the book. I mean, she's softer, you know, than she is in the TV version.
Yeah, to me on the TV show, she's less likable. She's mad all the time. She's controlling. She's just hard.
I think it goes back to, I think it goes back to someone talking about the sense of humor, because both Jamie and Claire lose a lot of their sense of humor in the show. And I think it's just an element of, we've got so much plot we have to fit in these 58 minutes that we don't have time for these little short scenes that have helped us enjoy their relationship so much. And it also fleshes them out as like people more. Because like I've never really thought of TV Claire and book Claire as far as their actions and decisions is all that much different, other than where the plot has to, you know, diverges from each other. I just think that the TV show, for the sake of time, loses a lot of the softer interactions because
I agree.
Like important.
Well, like in the one time after their wedding where they go up to like a plateau or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, other than the, you know, the fun part that we enjoy reading, just the whole scene where she's watching him as he sleeps, and just, I don't know, you just got this sense of it was was starting to fall in love. I don't know. There was I got a feeling was they don't put it in the series. Things like that. I think that's what you were talking about.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And I felt like they've imposed, and maybe it's because the writers themselves were never into the book as much, but between the writing and the editing, it feels as if they've imposed a lot of 21st century attitudes and behaviors on Claire, as opposed to what a woman in 1940s would have experienced as well.
Oh, I agree with that.
I think there's a lot of feminism in there that's
there wouldn't have been there in the 90s.
Yeah. Well, she's a different case, though. You know, thinking about how she was raised, and then she's in the military, and so
you know,
she's already
what we would do today if that happened to us. That's different.
I'd run away and cry.
But you know what's missing in the show is something that's missing in every show, and that is in the book you get to read their thinking.
Yes.
You read her thinking. Sometimes you even read his thinking. And so, you know, you can never do that in a movie, and that's why the book is always better.
Yeah.
But you can play but you can, when you're acting, you can play to those thoughts and emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, who's your favorite character besides Claire and Jamie so far?
Rupert.
Rupert, okay.
Rupert.
Yeah, Rupert's funny.
Yeah.
He is
I
funny.
think Rupert's funnier on the television. I don't think
I was going to say, he hasn't talked a lot.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I misspoke, I think.
Well, Angus is like the big
It's
guy.
hard to separate the two, you know?
Well, it's
For
just
some reason, I really like
bits too.
Okay,
quite
well,
hard.
we gotta wrap it up, y'all.
Yeah, we've got less than a minute.
Okay.
This was fun.
It
All
was
right,
fun.
ladies.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, we'll have another Zoom meeting when the next part, when you see, that part's over.
Yeah.
We'll plan it
Nice
for that.
seeing you all.
Have fun packing,
all.
Walker.
Thanks,
It
everybody.
was nice to meet you, ladies. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Okay, see you next time.
Bye. Bye. Sylvia.
Thank you. Bye.
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 All right. As soon as I end this, everybody's gone.
How'd you get out?